All right, we welcome on to the podcast, co-host of the Dirty Sports Podcast, Cincinnati native, Andy Ruther. Andy, what's going on?
Not
I
too
think
much. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to talk a little Reds baseball. Hey, we're 500.
well, I wanted to have you on because, well, of course, I was for a long time a dirtball. I still dabble from time to time. Like I had to listen last week because I wanted to hear the opinion on the Chris Rock, uh, Will Smith stuff. But you're a Reds guy. You're a Cincinnati sports guy. So I wanted to. It's been a little while, but I wanted to ask, like, what do you remember growing up about like a Reds fan, like your early days? I remember listening back to a podcast a long time ago. You talked about like you were alive for the '90 World Series run. I remember you were like talking about like you made like a rap for the team, and I remember like, so what was that like growing up? Like,
Yeah,
all
that's
the
that's.
'90 run.
I love that question. That's a great memory. So my first love. Obviously, I'm a huge sports guy, huge sports fanatic. My first love was probably the Reds. My first love was basically probably Reds, Xavier basketball, and Bengals. But Reds was the top because my earliest memories are Riverfront Stadium, going to the games, probably like 88 season. I was probably in the first grade, and we would get tickets, and my dad would take us, and I have four brothers. So, he'd take turns taking us or taking a few of us. And then the 90 team, which is such a place in my heart, which went wire to wire, right?
Mhm.
They start 9-0. They are never in second place the whole year. And to date myself, this is when the Reds were in the West, guys. Like, think about that. Like, isn't that great? Like, the Reds were in the West, and one of the Reds' main rivals was the Dodgers. Like, it's crazy to think about that, that was one of their main rivals, but that was a great year, and they had a fun team. They just had a fun team, from the Nasty Boys to Barry Larkin to Eric Davis to Chris Sabo. They just had so many personalities. And I went to game one with my dad, which is like still my best sports memory, with my dad. And before the game, it was kind of crazy. So I was in the third grade at Guardian Angels grade school on the east side in Anderson or in Mount Washington. And there was this bar, Flanagan's, which was down close by the stadium. So my dad, rest in peace, Walt Ruther, would all like this. This is so him. Why not take a 8-year-old into a bar right before game one of the '90 World Series? So we go in this bar, and of course it's packed to the brim with Reds fans and a few Oakland fans sprinkled in there. And they had like an open. It was like an open mic to talk with the radio host. It was a 700 WLW show, and it was hosted by Turk Schoner, who was the Bengals' third string quarterback. Anyway, so I went up there and did it, and I was like the youngest person who talked about the Reds with my little voice. And then during the commercial break, I had written a rap about the Reds that year. So like my first love was rap, and it was MC Hammer. So I had written this rap, and it was so corny. I still wish I had it. I don't know if it's somewhere in my parents' house, but it was saying things like, we're the best from the West. It was all corny rhymes.
Right.
Like Eric Davis is real famous. Paul O'Neill is the real deal. Mariano Duncan is really something. And I had this whole rhyme, and my dad said, you should ask the host if you can do that on air. And my dad, to his credit, he wasn't going to do it for me. And I think it was a great lesson that I learned at such a young age. He's like, you have to go up to him. And I'll never forget, no lie, guys, I go up to this host during a commercial break, and I'm like tugging on the back of his shirt as he's sitting down. And I was like, I got this little rap about the Reds. Do you think I can do it? So he says, yeah. So he's like, Andy was just on, let's bring him back. And no lie, the whole place got dead quiet. And I say it's probably one of the first times I ever, quote unquote, performed. And the whole bar, you can imagine before a World Series game, just packed. You could hear a pin drop, and I do my rap, and then I finish, and the place erupts. And then we go into the game, and Eric Davis hits a 2-run home run, the bottom of the first. Reds win 7-0. Jose Rio pitches a great game, and the rest is history. They sweep Oakland, and it's, again, like that's, I think why I have such a love of the Reds is at a young age, I have such a great memory, especially with my dad,
Yeah. Like wish we had something
comparable
to that in our
yeah, what are your guys' early memories? I'm curious.
we're gonna talk about it.
Can I take it?
Sure, go ahead.
So Andy, I want to be honest with you. I was not a fan of the dirt. Not that I wasn't a fan. I didn't listen to the Dirty Sports podcast. Zach was always a big fan of it. He's always like, yeah, you should listen. And then he's like, yeah, dude, I kept calling in and they kept putting me on. So I don't know if you remember Zach, but Zach called into your show several times. And one of the times he mentioned his favorite moment, which might be the worst fucking moment I've ever heard. It was, and you guys ripped him for it. Thank God. It was Zach went on a rant about how his favorite memory was an Adam Dunn grand slam in the most meaningless season of all time in a meaningless game of all time. That's his favorite moment as a Reds fan.
It was
just a walk-off grand slam in a game against some scrub
Cleveland.
Against Cleveland, who's not even. I mean, it's one of the worst of all time.
Well, hey, to Zach's credit, like again, what do you got to work with? I mean,
not a lot.
Now, is this in Great American?
It was in Great American. It was 2006. It was June 30th, 2006. I remember it well.
So you remember it,
but
you were
8, they got down like 8-0, and like in like the 7th, they were down like 8-0 in the 7th. They kept chipping away, and Dunn came up and hit a walk-off grand slam in the 9th. So I don't know. I mean, but there isn't a lot to work with. Like 2012 was great. Like it was a great year, but then we lose 3 in a row in the end.
Oh man!
I was at Game 4. Mike Leake pitched. I kind of knew we were going to lose, and then Game 5, obviously the Posey grand slam. But yeah, there's not a lot to work with.
No, you're right. By the way, that was a soul crushing.
Yeah,
3 straight losses. I was in California,
right,
obviously watching closely, and I remember being so excited for that team because they had a complete team, and I think they had the second best record in baseball that year. They could have won the World Series, right? Like if they win that first round, I think they had the arms, they had the bats. And I remember saying to my brother, I'm going to fly back if they make it to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we all know Dusty come playoff time.
So it's funny you mentioned that. So I wanted to ask, like being from LA, not from LA, you're from Cincinnati, but living in LA for a long time, you had the chance to come back to throw out a first pitch, and I remember it well. Let Ruther pitch. What was that day like? Because I know like the hoopla on like Twitter. I remember back like the summer of that year, it was like the let Ruther pitch hashtags are flying, and Prano had your co-host Joe Prano had thrown out a pitch at the Mets game. What was that whole like they like getting to do that and like throw out that first pitch?
Well, it was obviously really cool to do that as a lifelong Reds fan. And I also got to choose. The Reds were cool. I got to choose the day, and I chose my dad's birthday, which is September 17th. So that was 2016. So it was really cool. I got to choose that day as well, which made it even more meaningful. And the funny part was it was the first of a doubleheader, and it was a makeup game. And I don't know if you guys remember 2016. You could look it up. The Reds were terrible.
We're bad. Yeah.
Really bad. So the thing, I don't know if you guys know, the thing with the pitches now, they do them so far in advance before the game.
Yeah.
So the same thing happened to us when Joe did the pitch before the Mets game the year before. They'll do these ceremonial pitches now 45 minutes, an hour before the game. Like nobody's there.
Yeah.
And imagine a terrible Reds team, a makeup game against the Pirates. There was no lie. There was like 500 people in the whole stadium, maybe. So that part was kind of funny. And I don't know if you know, they do multiple opening pitches.
Yeah.
So like that day I got to do it, and Joey Chestnut did it.
Oh my God.
So I was like the opener for Joey Chestnut, and it was a lot of fun. And I hadn't thrown a ball, and I wore, paying homage to Chris Sabo, I wore his goggles, and I had a Chris Sabo jersey that I have, like a throwback, like warm up jersey. And no, it was a lot of fun. And then we hung out with our listeners, called the Dirt Balls, and it was, which turned into a total shit show. But it was a lot of fun, and it was, like I said, is more meaningful to be doing it on my dad's birthday and kind of coming full circle. But yeah, there was like, I think that stadium had like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people in it during the game. That's how bad. And the Reds got smoked by the Pirates.
Real quick, Zach, you mentioned it, so I'm going to go into it real quick. And again, I was never a big listener of yours. Nothing against you guys. I just never listened to it. I obviously when.
It's all right, Elliot. I'm going to hold this against you.
Yeah.
Well,
he's got a grudge now.
All right. Well, Zach started informing me of all these things, and one of the things was your fan base is called the Dirt Balls. And Zach wanted to. He's like, yeah, dude, I really want him to have him on. It would be awesome if he would come on. I'm like. He's like, do you think he'd like have lunch? He wanted to have lunch.
Well, like, no, this is the thing.
For the record, I would totally do lunch.
Yeah.
But this is my thing. Is the Dirt Ball persona? Is this like, this runs deep? So all the Dirt Balls just like.
We were rabid.
This is a rabid fan base.
Yeah. Like the thing about the Dirt Balls is it's like we're not the big, Zach will tell us, it's like we're not the biggest show, but the loyalty, it's psychotic. Like that day I did the pitch, kids drove in from all over, and he who shall not be named.
Yep.
Well, I'll just say, a guy who used to poop in socks and throw them at people literally showed up. I'll never forget that morning. Joe and I had been out all late the night before at the bars and over the Rhine, and my mom was like, there's somebody with New York license plates and they're like camped out in the front yard. What is going on? And it was him and some guys, but yeah, but my thing is like, I'm all about, here's what I love about podcasting and just the age we live in general with social media. Like I'm all down to like meet people and hang out, and I like how like walls are broken now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, in the past it was like, oh, you listen to somebody, you can't see them or meet them. But I think like my thing is, what I wanted to create was that where it's everybody's friendly, everybody's cool. Like I said, a little weird. But I think podcast listeners are just very loyal in general as a genre of entertainment. But yeah, I mean, where would you go? Okay, if you said let's meet for lunch, where would be where would be a spot you would take me?
That's a good question. I don't know, Andy. Skyline. Let's go to Skyline.
See, no, I knew you were going to say that.
I'm kidding. I knew that.
No, he wasn't kidding. He wasn't kidding.
No,
that was honest.
I don't know though, because I don't like.
What part of town do you guys live?
I live in Delhi.
Okay, so West Side. What about you, Elliot?
We're moving houses, so right now I live right by Elder High School, which is where I went. But
okay, yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask you guys real quick. What was I gonna ask you guys? So you met at Elder, or did you guys know each other beforehand?
We met at Elder. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And then were you guys big baseball fans then, or like because obviously Elder's a great sports school. Like, was Elder good at baseball when you were there?
They were decent, like not like a power or anything, but like we were okay. Nothing like football's the stand, like the big sport.
Of course. I mean, I'll still say this, and I tell people this, like the Pit is that's like a top 10 easily place to see a high school football game in the country.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I did go to the St. X Elder playoff game. I'm sorry. And I got to watch my Bombers crush your team. Which, by the way, it's funny coming back because the loyalty, right? Like with high schools in the city. Because I was away, dude. When I graduated high school. I'm an old guy. I graduated high school in 2000. So I didn't come back till 2020. So I was basically away half my life, and you forget that. Whereas like now, I don't really care because I've been away for so long, right? But it's so funny to me, right? Like those rivalries still run so deep.
It's insane. It's insane because you're segueing into all the questions I was going to ask you. It's.
Do you see our questions?
It's uncanny. we come prepared. We write these questions. You've segued into like 4 of mine already. So I'm okay. My next question was, and again, you complimented the Pit, so now this is going to make this less funny. but it was going to be. Was there a like? How were the kids separated at St. X? It was like the people who played real sports, and then it was then the country club sports. Was that how it went?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of country club sports at X for sure.
I played tennis, by the way, so I'm allowed to make the country club.
Okay. Yeah. No, for sure. Well, it's funny you say that. I was actually talking to a buddy about this there. I said, I think with my group of friends and with us, or at least my class, I think it was pretty good. You know how things get so cliquey in high school.
Oh, yeah.
But I said by senior year, I loved like our group and our class, I would say, because I was like, by senior year, everybody hung out. The football players hung out with the swimmers, who hung out with the burnouts, who you know what I'm saying? Like who hung out with, like you're saying, kids who played lacrosse or kids who didn't play sports. Like, I don't know, like I think I was pretty fortunate that I had friends from all over. And one of the good things I'd say about that I liked about X was also having friends all over the city. Right. Yeah. So I had tons of friends in your neck of the woods and also tons of friends like where I grew up. It is funny though, because Cincinnati is so like where I grew up in Anderson, you're like considered soft. And like where you guys come from, like my dad's from White Oak. So like he would always say that too. Like, no, everybody in the West Side's tougher. Everybody in the East Side is soft.
Well, and it's unfortunate because you didn't mention a core group of athlete there, and that's the water polo team.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Nobody talked to them, right?
No. I don't even think that was a thing yet. Yeah, like when I left X, they started adding like bowling and like those type of sports.
Really?
Bowling, dude, they're playing like equestrian now. They're doing equestrian at St. X.
I don't think so.
They're running around on horses.
Guys, X is so ridiculous. Like I hadn't been back forever, and I went to a couple of football games. It's a college, and it's funny. They're always trying to hit me up for money, and I'm like, guys, you maybe not build the state of the art facility for everything. You know. I don't know. It's don't get me started on that. Like I'm one of those guys. I'm an old guy now. I'm like, it's tuition's too much for schools. Tuition's too much for colleges. Like it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Some of my good buddies went to St. X.
We have good buddies.
We have the same joke with that.
So I want to talk more about like dirty sports. You've had on some like really like good guests and interesting athletes and but is there a white whale out there that like either maybe realistic, unrealistic that you'd love to like just have on? Like
this is gonna sound awful. It's gonna sound awful.
Okay.
OJ.
I knew it was gonna be OJ.
You are an OJ guy. I knew it was gonna be OJ. That's a good one. That is a good one though.
I mean, it's awful that I want to have a double murderer, allegedly. But I always used to love, again, dating myself, like Norm Macdonald jokes when he was on Saturday Night Live, when he did Weekend Update, and I just would always laugh, and I just find the whole thing just so wild because I remember – so here's what I remember, guys. Again, dating myself. When that all went down in 1990, or getting the Enquirer, getting the actual paper, the Cincinnati Enquirer, and being fascinated when it first started – saying, oh, former player. And I don't remember him because he was played before my time, but I remember him as the sideline reporter for football games. I remember being like, wait, the sideline reporter might have killed two people? And our whole country, the world, watched this trial. And think about this. My 8th grade in my little Catholic school here in Mount Washington, my 8th grade, actually the whole school probably, or I guess the verdict, they pulled out TVs. They could put TVs on like a cart. They pulled out TVs to read the verdict. Think about that. Like that'll never happen again because of social media. But also like that's how big of a deal it was. So for me, again, probably pretty fucked up, people would say. But OJ, man, the problem is I couldn't ask him about that other stuff.
I went back and listened to the Barry McCockner interview you guys did.
Oh yeah, Barry.
I was a big fan of that one. I'm surprised you guys never actually went into his real name. You guys could have spoiled the identity for those who didn't know. I think his identity got leaked.
I think it's been leaked. Barry is he's an interesting dude. You know what's funny? I don't even know his real name.
Yeah.
Like Elliot, I don't even know. He's in my phone.
It's Barry McCockner.
Dude, he's literally in my phone as Barry McCockner. So like if he would call me or text me, it's Barry McCockner.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So this is a baseball podcast. The Reds, this offseason, and we talked about it on the podcast. I had a sick feeling that they were going to maybe make some moves to cut payroll. Right before the lockout was coming, like the lockout ended, I was like, I think they're going to trade Sonny Gray. They traded Sonny Gray. What I was not expecting was the Jesse Winker trade to Seattle. I know you've talked about it on Dirty Sports a little bit, but what were your thoughts? Like, what about this offseason, like everything that's gone down?
I was pretty pissed.
Yeah.
That, you know, like a lot of us, and I'm sure you guys were too. Look, even just saying it, Elliot's getting a cough. That's the effect that it does. It's just, I still can't. I understand the Reds have to work within a budget. They aren't the Yankees. They aren't the Dodgers. They aren't the big cities. But the same token, you guys probably think the same thing. I still don't understand. Winker 28 All-Star makes basically the same that Pham makes. So we're all still scratching our head saying, wait, so a homegrown guy you drafted who's younger, who's a core member of this young fun team, you replaced with a 34-year-old vet at the same budget? Like, you're doing this. You're doing Shrug Meme, and that was tough. I got a great Winker story for you guys, actually. I don't think I've ever told this one on air, and this shows how good a guy he is. My buddy was leaving a Reds game last year, and I forget the street, but he was walking to Sawyer Point where they parked, and I forget what that street is down there, but his son, who I had coached with him, we coached basketball together. Anyway, his son's in the 3rd grade, so he's a young kid, 8-9-year-old kid. And he had like a homemade Winker jersey, which is like adorable, right? Like, he made it. He didn't have one. He wrote like Winker in black marker on like a white shirt, and he drew some stuff on it. This truck pulls up after the game, and the window rolls down. This guy says, "Hey man, I really like your jersey." It was Winker.
That's pretty cool.
Like, to me, that shows how good a guy he is, right? Like, he stopped.
Yeah.
He said hi, and my buddy. Think about my buddy's kid.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine a player you love so much, you make your own jersey? Yeah. He said he was in shock. He was like, "Oh my God, that's Jesse Winker." Just saying, "Thanks for the support," and then drove on. But he didn't have to do that, is my point. And that's the type of guy that you're trading.
And I never understood it. And like he said, like, you can reasonably understand Suarez, 2 bad years. He gets paid a decent amount of money. Get rid of him. Sonny Gray doesn't go far into games, gets paid a lot of money, get rid of him. Wade Miley, you could argue, was a fluke year, don't want to do anything. I'd argue they could have traded him, but they opted to release him. Jesse Winker, and their whole argument, other than, and I want to ask you about Nick Kroll in a second, other than these nonsensical, their whole basis of argument is, it's all about homegrown talent. We just want to Jesse Winker was brought up in the system. Jesse Winker is what you get when you have a perfected homegrown talent go through your system. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't get it. And even Sonny Gray, though. Sonny Gray, what was he making? $10 million a year? That's still, for the innings he's going to give you, he's still a bargain pitcher. We all agree Suarez contract was bad. And that's how they got rid of Suarez. They had to put Winker in that mix. But I don't look. The end game for the Reds, I don't know what it is. It's definitely not to win. It's just not.
It's and I've talked about it with him. Like, I think it's something. There's something about where they want, like, they made the Winker trade, and there was, like, I think there was a big outcry, like as big of an outcry as I think we've seen, like, in a long time, if like ever, maybe. But then I think they maybe made those moves, like they made the couple signings, like the Pham and the Solano signings, because I think they just want to do just enough to make you think that they can maybe contend, and they can hang around maybe in August, when in reality they're a 77, 8, maybe 70, 8-win team, something like that. They just want to do just enough. Like, see, we signed Tommy Pham, but in reality, like, they cut, $50 million in payroll, and they got rid of Sonny Gray and Wade Miley, who, okay, they're older guys, but they ended up trading for Mike Minor, who's, this probably a worse version of Wade Miley. And it would be one thing if, like, okay, they're not paying for any of his salary. All right, okay, at least it would make sense. I wouldn't like it, but they're taking on the $10 million of Mike Minor. It just, I think that's what it is. It's just like they want you to think just maybe there's a way. And you got Green and Lodolo, and these guys are exciting. There might be a way for them to contend. I think that's what they want this year.
Well, the team last year, right, would have made the playoffs in this year's format with the 12 teams. So that's where it's confusing. As we all know, the Central is a winnable division. It's one of the weaker divisions in baseball. So the fact that they got rid of those guys, like you're saying, you got these young pitchers, and we all saw Hunter Green's debut yesterday. It's like you have these young guys that are going to probably have some bumps in the road, but also can have some fun, exciting, electric stuff on certain nights. That's where it's tough as a fan. And at the end of the day, business, they always say, what's the saying? You got to spend money to make money. Right. So if you want butts in seats, and I subscribe to the Enquirer and I read it, and they've done multiple in-depth pieces on Castellini's tenure as an owner and breaking down the numbers of everything, which I like. And I don't know if you guys know this, but like the attendance continues to go down. So you're not getting butts in seats. And I talk a lot about the numbers on Dirty Sports, and I've gone into depth of that with Castellini. Dude, if you're going to cry poor, which they do, because he's the poorest owner in baseball, which again, we're talking about, we're using the term poor. He's worth $400 million.
Yeah.
But my point is this: if you can't afford the team, then sell it. Right. Like that's my viewpoint is this: you owning the Reds, if you can't afford it to make it good, is no different than the person who shouldn't own the Tesla. It's the same thing. Yeah, sorry, man. You thought you could own the Tesla. You don't make enough money. Sell it. That's my viewpoint. I would rather them sell it to a billionaire, and this idea that, they could move the team. Sure, they could, but I don't worry about that. I just think fans, you guys know this, especially from your generation. Dude, your best memory is an Adam Dunn 4-run home run. That's what I'm saying. At least I have a World Series. At least I have some early playoff runs with the Reds, which ironically was under Marge Schott. Like Marge Schott, the Reds won more games under insane, crazy, racist, all these other things that Marge Schott was. They won more games under her than they did under Castellini. And that's just a fact, which is crazy.
It's insane. And like you said, we have I think Castellini took the Todd Frazier home run derby champ. I think he counts that. I think he has that in his house. I think he stole it from the ballpark, and I think he keeps it in his house. I think that's his championship. He won.
Look, I don't know Castellini, and I don't. None of us do. I don't know if he's, I'm not calling him a bad guy, but my point is, it's just not working. And you see this, like your son is right, and you see that with the Bengals too. It's like, dude, you got to bring in outside people. Nepotism doesn't work when you're making these decisions. And I think you said you were going to ask about Kroll. I'll just say, I don't think Nick Kroll. I don't know how much he can do. To me, I'm not. By the way, I'm not like justified. But if you have an owner saying this or other people saying this in the organization, right? What can he do? I think he's kind of hand tied. There's only so much he can do.
Yeah, I think my whole thing with Nick Kroll is he doesn't know how to speak. The words he says aren't right. Mm-hmm. They don't make.
Yeah.
Dude, we want to avoid the peaks and the valleys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was brutal.
What does that mean?
Yeah, that was.
And then he comes out and says we're aligning our payroll to our resource, and it's like, what? I mean.
Terrible. Yeah, no, you're making great points. When he says that, that's when I get angry.
Correct.
And to me, I'm like, dude, you sound like every douchebag politician that I hate. Yeah. And that's why I hate them all across the board, because dude, you're just not being, if you said, hey man, we're cutting our budget, just be straight up with me.
Sure.
You guys aren't stupid. I'm not stupid. The common fan is not stupid. When you say things like that, you demean me as a fan.
Yep.
And I don't know, there's a lot of things I would do. And I think the Reds, though, are a microcosm, I'm sure you guys would agree, of baseball in general, of the problem with just where it is as a sport. And I am such a diehard NFL guy. And that's why, like, they figured it out. Just baseball with no salary cap, with no salary floor, all these different things, they just have not figured it out.
I'd argue the NFL offseason is now at a point where it's almost better than the MLB regular season.
I think that's a valid argument.
Yeah.
The and it's just terrible. I think Rob Manfred has a lot. I mean, he stinks. And he's just the worst. He was the worst commissioner of all time. He brings nothing. Ever since he called the World Series trophy a piece of, what do you call it?
A hunk of metal.
A hunk of metal.
Yeah.
It's just like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this. So, like, what is your guys' take? Like, when you see another disappointing shed of payroll, like, do you guys say, well, I don't want to go to many games this year? Like, do you guys take it that personally?
Well, here's the thing. If you asked me this question 5 minutes after the Winker trade, I would have said, I'm done with this shit. Like, I don't want to go to any games. I think I said that. Like, I was yelling throughout my house.
Me and you both.
I mean, I will still go to games. I don't know, like, probably not as many as last year. I went to probably like 15 games, 20 games last year. I'll still go to games, but I understand, because I love baseball and I still love the Reds, and like, I want to support the team. I'm angry with the ownership, and to say, like, it'd be hard for me to just like tune it out completely, because I've tried to do like no, I'm just not going to watch them tonight, and then I'll end up following them, and it's just like, it is kind of like, it would be hard for me to just kind of become just like kind of just casual fan and turn it off, just because like I've been sort of with you, like I've been a Reds fan like since I was like 5 or 6. I grew up, you know, my grandpa was like, you know, I remember getting baseball cards and stuff like when I was 5 or 6, and I just kind of fell in love with baseball. So it'd be hard for me to just kind of like I'm done going to games, because I still like going to games with like my dad and things, but
yeah,
it makes it like, it's frustrating, and I can like I you know, I can see why, and it, like, I can't blame anybody for the park being empty on a, you know, Thursday night or Tuesday. Like, I don't, you know, it makes sense. Like, I get it. People.
Yeah. I agree. And I'm like, and I go to a lot of games too. You know, I don't know how many games I went to last year, but I mean, I even travel. Like, I try to set it up. I got a buddy in Milwaukee. I went up there to see Reds Brewers last year. I went with another buddy to see Reds in Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll go see them in St. Louis. Like, I'm legit. I was in LA last year when the Reds were out there. Like, dude, we are the type of fans they do not want to like get to that point.
Right,
and I was like you. I was like, I'm not going now. I'm sure I'll still go to a few games. And I actually had just booked a trip. I was like, I want to see some minor league Reds teams, and because I do. And I was like, so my buddies and I actually booked a trip to Chattanooga. We're going to see the Lookouts. I'm going to go down, see the Louisville Bats, and, you know, I'll support the Dayton Dragons or the Florence Y'alls. Like, you know, maybe go to some high school games, maybe see UC, Xavier, whatever it is. But my thing at this point with these owners is you have to earn it.
Right.
You know, guys, I went last year. I've never seen a stadium like this. I went to that Pittsburgh Reds game in September. Beautiful stadium, by the way. It's one of the prettiest stadiums ever. But it was like a scene out of the Twilight Zone. There was maybe 5,000 people in that stadium. Imagine, right, September, where Pittsburgh's already got, I don't know how many losses.
Yeah.
And you could hear everything. And my buddy and I, we literally got tickets. We decided the night before, hey, let's start to Pittsburgh, right? It's that close. We got tickets maybe an hour before the game. We got second row right behind the Reds dugout. Like an hour before the game, second row. And it was eerie. It was so quiet. I was saying to my buddy, I was like, I don't want to be loud. Like, I can hear what the Reds are saying to each other on the dugout. I can hear far away in the stadium. And the truth is, if the Reds keep doing this crap, they're not that far off from turning into like a Pittsburgh with the fan base.
And that's where Zach goes back and says, and I think like Zach said, I think I was just as mad. I was vowing never to go again. But then they do this thing, which is the one difference between us and the Pirates. And the Pirates owners historically, I believe, personally at least, I think he's the worst owner. Whatever he does is wrong. That guy stinks.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the Reds will bring you back. They'll sign all these 35-year-old free agents that have some name value that'll bring someone to the ballpark. And it's like, all right, this is a team that can compete. It might not compete, but it can compete, and we'll give you that hope. The Pirates they just sit there and die. But like you said, if we keep doing it, it's like, how much hope is there?
Yeah. Well, it's that's what they do. They dangle, these owners in all sports. They dangle the carrot just enough because they want to play on people's optimism. And it's like it's like someone who's abused. It's like you're dating somebody who just keeps cheating on you, and you're like, they're not gonna do it, but I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, I mean, I think we went to 24 games. It was the most we've ever been to, at least me personally.
Yeah, it was.
And like you said, we were going to Cleveland. We saw the Wade Miley no-hitter last year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So cool. And the energy in the ballpark with Nick Castellanos, Winker, all those guys, it was different last year. And that's what made those trades just so much worse. It was like the energy is different. And I think back to what you said, the era of social media and all this new time we live in, I think if we don't have that, I don't think any move happens. I think we continue as normal. But luckily, we have enough Twitter pressure to put on the Castellini family, and I think there are. And like you said, there's Enquirer articles written about the Castellinis now. It's like they got exposed this offseason in a way that I don't think they have ever.
Yeah.
Well, look, the numbers don't lie. I mean,
right.
Like I said, he's been on the team since 2006. You don't have a single season playoff. You don't have a series win.
Right.
So, and you have more losing seasons than Mark. I think the Reds have won 6 winning seasons since he took over.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. I mean, I try and think like the prospects, but even that, it's just like, it's hard to.
But let's play that out, right? Let's say Hunter Green's great, and let's say, India keeps playing at the level he played as a rookie. They're not going to keep him.
Right.
And the Reds, they're not Oakland. They're not Tampa, who can reload and you're like, wow, they're just going to be competitive. They haven't figured out that formula yet. So I don't know the numbers, none of us do right now. There has to be a magical formula of you spend enough to get enough butts in the seat to be competitive enough. I don't know what that is, but my thing is, just like last year, we all agreed. Last year was I enjoyed going to games. They were surprisingly better than we all thought, and it was fun.
Definitely.
100%.
So, Andy, before we let you go, I've got some quick rapid fire questions.
Okay.
All right. You referenced this earlier, but favorite MLB stadium that you visited?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a tough one. I think I've been to 15 so far of the 30.
That's pretty good.
Can I just say the ones I really like?
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm gonna end up saying way too many. I already know it.
Cool.
Pittsburgh's up there.
Yeah.
San Francisco's is amazing.
Yeah.
I like Dodger Stadium a lot. I might put those 3. Although San Diego's cool too. but I'd probably put Pittsburgh and San Francisco. Like I said, I think I've been to 15. And that's what I love. You guys are probably like me. That's what I love about baseball is seeing a new stadium and walking around. What food do they have? The architecture. I totally dork out.
Favorite Red of all time?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, my first Red was my first poster ever. It was Eric Davis. So it'd be tough not to say him. Larkin's up there. But you know who's making a hard push is Votto.
I love Votto.
I mean, how great was he mic'd up, guys?
Amazing,
unbelievable.
I can't
imagine. It's the only good thing ESPN's done in 5 years.
100%.
It was amazing.
But here's the thing about Votto is he's not just an athlete. My point is a lot of these guys are kind of meatheads, and then there's not depth. There's no much. There's not the biggest amount of depth to him. Votto's a smart, well thought out, introspective guy. That was. We all saw how social media was going nuts. That's what baseball needs. They need more Joey Vottos mic'd up.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say he's making a hard push. Those are probably my 3.
All right. Now this is a different one, but of all the Cincinnati, the Cincinnati dishes you think of, you can only have one for the rest of your life. All the rest have to go. So like Skyline, La Rosa's, Montgomery Inn ribs, or whatever, Montgomery Inn, Graders, UDF shakes, if you're into that. You only get one. The rest are away forever.
By the way, I'm a Gold Star guy over.
Yeah, I know. I remember you saying that. I do remember you saying that. You can pick Gold Star. You can pick Gold Star.
And I'll give them a free plug. You know what Gold Star has? Speaking of shake, have you guys ever tried a Gold Star shake?
I haven't.
No.
See, nobody knows about that. So Gold Star,
because nobody goes.
Except for Ruther.
You're probably right. It sounds like I work for them now, but they've expanded their menu, and like they got legit burgers. Their shakes are really good. That's a good question. So Montgomery Inn,
Gold Star chili. Let's get the chicken tenders.
yeah, exactly. I feel like the truth is I've never eaten at a Jeff Ruby restaurant. I feel I'm just basing this off. Probably it's overpriced, and is it really that good? I'll say Montgomery Inn. I've had it a few times since I got back. And I don't. This is a tough question.
It is. It is.
I'm trying to think. One thing. You know what I became obsessed with since I moved back here, and it's not Cincinnati, but it's because they have them all over. But they're obviously big here too. Jets Pizza.
Those are good.
It's really good.
The 8 corner. Are you talking about the 8 corner?
It's really
That's
good.
exactly what I'm talking about.
8 corner. 8 corners. The real ones know about the 8 corner, Andy.
Like Jets, don't even talk about La Rosa's versus Jets.
Okay, I like La Rosa's, but I mean like I'll have like more so like just like get a calzone, but like Jets. I haven't had Jets in a long time, but Jets is really good.
What do you guys think about Price Hill chili?
I love Price Hill chili.
Big fan.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I love Price Hill chili. Yeah, I go with my dad all the time.
Yeah, I'll go. So I got a lot of relatives over there. Like my dad's side is all still over there, and my aunt she taught at St. Antonitis forever.
That's where I went.
That's where you went?
Yeah.
She could have been your 3rd grade teacher.
Is it Ruther or she was a librarian too?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she was there doing that. Yeah. How about that? Small world. Shout out Miss Ruther.
Shout out Aunt Marilyn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's over there, and when I go over there in her neck of the woods, we'll hit up Price Hill Chili. That's hilarious. That you really little short woman.
Yep. Yep.
So did you have her for librarian or for teacher or both?
She was librarian most of my time there. I think her like a chunk of it, but like she was like I thought of her as like a super sub almost. Like she would sub a lot, kind of like
she taught 600 years.
Yeah, she saw like I feel like if like there was a teacher who needed to like run out for a little bit, she would come in for like to help out. But yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Small world.
It is.
I didn't give you an answer on that, Freezy. I'm sorry. That was just I avoided the question by just naming things I like and I don't like.
Jets Pizza is honestly. I know it's like it's Detroit or I don't know where it is, but like fun fact actually, Kyle Rudolph, the tight end, owns he own?
Yeah,
he owns one of the Jets.
I knew that
for Harrison, the one on Harrison. So
okay, good for him. That makes sense. That's a good investment right there. Those 8 corners are amazing.
So, one city that you've never been to that you'd like to visit?
That's a great question. You know where I haven't been is I've traveled all over. I think I've been to 38 states. I don't think I've been to, but it's like the upper Northwest and the upper Northeast. So like, are we talking city in the country or the world?
I would say I was thinking country, but if you
okay, no, let's do country. I've actually never been to Boston.
Really?
I'm going there and like for the Reds.
Red Sox.
Yeah. I'm going at the very end of May, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, but I've actually never been to Boston. And I would love to. That's probably one of the major Northeast cities I haven't been to because I've been to all the other ones: New York, DC, Philly. I've never been to Boston.
Would you rather have another Reds World Series or a Xavier Final Four?
This doesn't. I mean, I'm a Xavier guy, but come on.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought so.
It's got to be Reds. Like that. Right. That doesn't even like.
I got you.
You know that. Yeah.
I figured, but
sure.
The first Final Four would be.
It's gonna be special.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it ever happens. Hey, they got a guy who's going to start paying players, so I think it's going to be good.
I do think Sean Miller. I mean, it's a good
legal now. It's legal.
Basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over under 5.5 Reds games attended by Andy Ruther this year.
I was like you guys, and I was putting, I'm not going to games, and my girlfriend, all she's been talking about is bark in the park. She's got this, so I was like, okay, I'll give her a couple bark in the parks, but I already know. I was just like you got here. I am already being like, oh, the Reds got a day game against the Guardians, which it'll take me a while to say, but I'm going to say over.
I got one, Zach, real quick.
Good.
Favorite controversy. Now this one's going to be easy to say one of them, but you have to remember one of them. It was like Twitter wasn't a big thing back then. Tom Brenneman's that'll make it a 4-0 game, or Mike Leake going to Macy's and just wreaking havoc, stealing everything.
That's a great reference. The Mike Leake shoplifting.
A lot of people forget about that because it wasn't like. But I remember it getting big news then, and it wasn't like there was like no Twitter or anything.
Do you know the date on the Mike Leake thing? Is that early 2000s?
It was like 2011. It was like his rookie year, his second year. It was like one of those two.
Why was he stealing stuff?
I don't know.
I know they don't stole stuff.
I know he's on the minimum, but still, you're making enough. You're making enough.
It was 5. I want to say it was 5 T-shirts. I think he went in there and took 5 T-shirts and walked out.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I'll say this: the Tom Brenneman thing is so funny. How people use it, and people were using it again during the Will Smith thing. I mean, you just. I mean, look, you got to take that. You guys, I could tell you guys some other wild ones. Do you guys know Lou Piniella? Dude, he fought Rob Dibble in the Reds locker room the year they won the World Series.
I didn't know that.
Guys, look this up on YouTube. Dude, there's a video. Dude, can you imagine this in 2022, especially on like a first place team?
Yeah.
They're yelling at each other and there's cameras there and they tackle. The manager and the closer are fighting. And Barry Larkin's sitting there, the shirt off, like, yo, what is happening? You got to look that up. Like the Nasty Boys was, oh God, it was that team had so much personality. It was amazing.
And then my last one I had an interview on Dirty Sports with an athlete that you enjoyed the most, or like one that really is there one that like stands out that you like really like?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think probably Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
He was great and he was cool and he's such a down to earth guy on and off air. And it's awesome seeing how huge he is now and his success. And, I couldn't be happier for someone who earned it and who works his tail off. And also it's just a great all around dude.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for coming on.
Real quick, Andy, I hate to cut him off, but I just have 2 quick ones here.
Yeah, go for it.
Real quick, you're a Twitter OG. I mean, I obviously back then I didn't listen to your podcast, but I knew who you were based on your Twitter account. Did you run what white people like on Twitter?
It's funny. I was one of the people who ran it.
Okay.
We got suspended in the last year, which we like what?
Zach was trying to find it. I'm like, dude, I can't find the account anymore.
So I ran it. Here's the funny thing. I ran it with another kid. He was like 18 at the time, 19 at the time when we started it. I'm like an old guy for Twitter. He's like 28, 29, but we got suspended. And I was like, dude, because I'm not on this stuff as much anymore. I'm an old guy. I'm 40, but like I saw we got suspended and I was like, dude, for what? Like, and nothing offensive, like Twitter. I don't know. We're lost in the algorithms. We appealed it. It didn't happen. I want bring back.
Yeah.
Tell the team, Bob, and bring back things white people like. That's what I need to happen.
Go ahead, Zach.
Well, I was also gonna ask. Do you have any big plans for tomorrow, opening day? You have anything crazy planned?
I don't. It threw me off that they didn't open at home.
It is.
Right.
It is.
So I don't have any big plans. With the Reds' brutal schedule, we all know. I'm not saying they got to beat Cleveland both games, but like
you better split.
Right. They better split, and then you go to LA and then San Diego,
Absolutely.
and there's no break. I worry for that start, because we all know once you start behind,
Right.
it's not easy to get out of that rut.
Right.
Tickets are like, by the way, tickets I think are $23. You can go buy tickets for $23.
Yeah.
They're still selling them. They're still selling them right now.
See,
Yeah.
wow. See, there it is right there.
Yeah.
That shows you the fact that they're still available, that it's a problem.
It's unreal.
Yeah. Well, Andy, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you want to plug? Any plugs?
No, you guys, you
No.
know,
You're not going to plug it to a lot of people, but you
No
can plug it.
Hey, you never know.
You can plug
We
it.
might get another. We can get a couple. We can get another crazy.
He
Crazy
plugged
dirt balls.
Gold Star,
He did plug Gold Star.
which will thank our podcast.
yeah, you know, my podcast, we do twice a week, Monday and Thursday, Dirty Sports. If you're gonna do anything, check that out. I'm not on Twitter as much anymore. I'm now doing this, you know, this life of settling down a little, figuring out what I want to do. But I appreciate you guys bringing me on. You know, I'll come on whenever. I can always talk Reds. I can always talk Cincinnati food, high school stuff, you name it. I'm always down to come on. And yeah, and let's how about the three of us meet in person and go somewhere?
Why not?
I feel like Elliott's just left
Yeah.
in the limb. Like, oh, you
Yeah,
know,
he's like-
Well,
It's like I didn't really listen to your podcast.
I wasn't a dirt ball, so
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
hey,
I'll be a dirt ball now, Andy.
hey, it's all good. I got family members. I've been doing the show 8 years. I got family members who've never listened to a single episode, like my blood. So it's all good. But yeah, let's all link up. And like I said, guys, I really appreciate you guys reaching out and having me on.
Thank you so
Well,
much for coming on.
Thanks so much, Andy. Appreciate it, man.